This is Motorsport Radio.
1, 2.
Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome. This is the Superbike Show and we are back. My name is Lester. This is Motorsport Radio and Lewis Ray joins us here this evening for a bit of a shortened show, to be honest. Lewis, I know you've been busy over the weekend. You're going to be telling us what you did and what happened. And we just thought we'd have a bit of a shortened show because there's not been that many big headlines. Although we do have some news to bring you relating to, motorcycle racing and any other general big bits of gossip. So, hello. Good evening, Lewis. How are you?
Not too bad, Lester. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm recovered from the weekend, just about. But how are you? Is your did you just tell us what you were doing at the weekend? Where were you?
Yeah, I was at Donington Park commentating on the third round of the No Limits Bike Racing Championship and commentating on their 5-hour endurance race as well on the Saturday night. So we're going late into the night at 8 o'clock.
Wow, okay. We did restream that radio commentary here on Motorsport Radio. If you may have missed one of the many announcements that we did. It all came together basically very, very late. That's why we published about it. But you did really well, Lewis, I thought. And
cheers.
To do a 5-hour endurance race, commentate on that, on basically people who you don't know, a championship that you literally almost know nothing about. Yeah, had a day of prep. So we'll get into talking more about what you learned and how the experience was at No Limits. You know, they should stream that, really, not just radio, but they should get into looking into that fine championship, especially the eBay ACU National Endurance Race or whatever it's called. I'm sure
almost there.
You'll tell us about it later, young Lewis. Anyway, so we'll get into talking about a bit about that, and also looking ahead to this weekend, more live motorsport here on Motorsport Radio, because we've got the Road to MotoGP series. Fab Racing Round 3 in the championship in 2023 is back, and the whole championship back in action, and it's here. Live coverage of every single race right here. So, you can tune into that. And, we've only got Lewis back on the mic as well. So he's resting his vocal cords, I think, this weekend. Lots of jibber-jabber on that mic. You're pretty much everywhere at the moment, Lewis. And he's on TV as well, because he's TV commentating. And you can find on some quality TV channels, the names of which escape me at the moment. AOZat TV. That's right. AOZat TV. Find it available on all good TVs. It's on Sky. And Sporty Stuff TV as well. So, Lewis is literally everywhere at the moment. So, talking about being everywhere at the moment, other stuff like, World Superbikes were in action at the weekend. Headlines from that, Lewis? I mean, have you even seen it? Because you were busy, weren't you? But
yeah, I've seen pretty much all the important stuff, it seems, at the moment anyway. I still need to go back and fully rewatch the races, but Alvaro Bautista and Ducati were dominant once again in Catalonia. It's become quite a theme in World Superbikes as he took 3 race wins out of 3 at the weekend. Bautista, headed into the weekend, though, also announced his contract extension with Ducati for a 1-year extension, which will see him to the end of 2024. And coming in the headlines today is all about Tom Sykes in World Superbikes. The fact he's left the Peroncini team to go to BMW just after 4 rounds of racing for them. He's suffered quite a few DNFs this year, and he'll replace the injured Michael van der Mark at the moment. And Tyrone McKenzie, big headlines for him as well. He will be testing the Petronas MIE Racing Honda World Superbike machine at the Misano test in not too long, just after the Misano Grand Prix. So big times ahead for Tyrone McKenzie. And at the weekend, Bradley Wright had a great weekend, securing points in every single race, making himself up to 20th in the championship, I believe, with a best place of 12th place at the weekend. So a good weekend for Bradley and Tyrone Mackenzie's weekend at Catalonia. He scored 0 points in the 2 races and he's struggling on board the World Super Sport machine. But all talks on World Superbikes. This machine is in the races. There's quite a few close moments and quite a lot of drama.
Yeah, there's a few bits of information to get through in terms of World Superbikes. And you mentioned, well, we knew before the weekend going in that there would be some sort of dramatic announcement. I don't know why Donna insists on them. I'm not going to blame Donna exactly because it's probably they're just reacting to what information they get from teams. But as fans, we seem to be getting a bit overhyped at the moment by, let's say, teams and riders. I mean, Marquez was the big announcement the other week, which turned out to just be nothing at all. It's like me announcing that I'm going to make a cup of tea or something. Not quite, but... and then before the weekend, there was another big press conference, which, again, just... they didn't really... I mean, what's the point?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, I think Bautista was undecided with himself at the end of the last round at Assen. He was still a bit unsure in his future. And he hyped up in the media himself, to be honest, by talking about how much more time he wants to have with his kids, with his family, and he wants to have a bit more time at home. So he hyped up a little bit on his own part. And,
so was he being a bit of a drama queen?
Took hold of that. That's one way of putting it after the announcement. I mean, it's only a 1-year extension, though, which I think could be quite telling in itself because it's not too much longer. It just seems that right now he knows he's in good form and he just wants to have at least one more crack at it.
Okay. Friend of Motorsport Radio as well, or at least his social media person is, if he has one. So hello and welcome if you tuned in. You know, there does seem to be a bit of if I'm reading between the lines, Lewis, a bit of a thinking that riders should probably stick around a little bit. Don't be too hasty to go into retirement just in case an opportunity MotoGP opens up. Is that fair to say?
I think there's certainly some other riders within that paddock that's hoping for a door to open at the moment, but Bautista, actually, with his championship winning season, he will be tested on the MotoGP bike later on in the season as part of a reward. So I don't see him making a full-time return to MotoGP. I think he's age-wise, he's a little bit too late for that one. Although whenever he did in 28, I mean, Lester, if you want to go to MotoGP, I mean, you can try for a Yamaha seat.
The only seat I'll be getting in MotoGP is in the grandstands. But yeah, no. I don't know. It's just a bit of a me with my conspiracy hat on, just thinking, well, you know, something in MotoGP could happen, and someone else. There could be maybe just one more standing ride or something. Would riders like Bautista hang around necessarily just for maybe a bit of a test roll, or just in case a ride opens up just for a race or two in GP?
I could definitely see that, I think, to be honest, because we know that Petrucci has been given his own wild card. So he's racing World Superbikes at the moment. He's been in the paddocks for quite a few years now, shall we say, and now luckily he's been given a ride with the factory Ducati team to replace Bastianini at Le Mans. So at the round coming up just this weekend in MotoGP. So Petrucci, World Superbike rider, gets his own opportunity. So potentially the likes of Álvaro Bautista might be seeing that and thinking they might have a shot if a rider gets injured this season, because we've seen quite a few riders injured in MotoGP with this introduction of sprint races.
Yeah, I can't keep up, to be honest. Who's injured, who's out, who's recovering, who's back, who's what now. It seems to be almost half the grid from the original, from before the season. But since I inquired, I mean, who is back, who is coming back, and who's currently out and stuff? As I say, I've been keeping up. I don't know.
Yeah, it's quite hard to keep up, at least from the top of my head. But I know that Joe Kelso has made his return in Moto3 after breaking his leg at the first round of the championship. And at the CIP team, it was Mino who was in replacing Lorenzo Foulon for a little while. And I believe Lorenzo Foulon's going to miss his home Grand Prix this weekend. He's going to hope to be back for Italy. The same as Bastianini. He's hoping to be back for Italy all the way in June, though. So quite a long time still. I think it's almost a month break that MotoGP is going to have between France and Italy. So Bastianini tried to ride last round at Jerez and the pain was just a bit too much for him. So now they've got Petrucci, which is quite an interesting stand-in ride in itself, I would say. I mean, Petrucci did come in last season on the Suzuki to come in and replace for just one round at Thailand. But at the end of the day, you have a reigning world champion sitting there in the World Superbike team, and you pick the rider that's on the satellite World Superbike team at the moment. So interesting choice for Ducati on that one. And also in Moto2, Ayogura, he is on the mend at the moment, and he has done some free practice. Well, he's aiming to do some free practice rounds at Valencia for the Junior GP to get some extra laps in, although he won't be competing in the races, I do believe. And also Miguel Oliveira will miss this weekend, if I remember that correct. So it's quite hard to keep up at the moment, but after that crash with Quartararo at Jerez, he's back injured once again.
Yeah, it's we should have like a running chart or something, a scorecard of who's injured.
We should. We need a spreadsheet at the moment, it seems, with the amount of riders that are getting injured.
Exactly, yeah. So just going back to, someone asked the other day, was it on this show? I can't remember if someone asked, when's Iannone coming back? And that completely...
Yeah, it was last week.
Yeah, wow, a week ago, Jesus. Okay. And that completely threw me because I thought he was, like, gone. But apparently, according to you and some other people, or maybe you told me twice, I can't remember, he has been making noises to the effect of, like, watch this space, or, he might be doing something soon. No one knows exactly what he's got up his sleeve, but he's got an increased social media presence, so maybe he's getting a bit bored racing go-karts.
Yeah, or just doing track days on his Aprilia Superbike. I mean, it seems that he's trying to be all cryptic about it anyway, it seems, at the moment, does Petrucci, but I'll wait and see. Maybe he might just stick to go-karts. But, I don't know. I think even if he comes back to racing, it's still going to be very, very controversial in itself. And although we did see he's a quick rider back in his factory Ducati days, I don't really see a seat for him at the moment in any top championships because they're pretty scarce to come by.
Maybe he's going on some Italian version of, like, The Masked Singer or something. He's doing Lorenzo or something.
We'll wait and see. I mean, what age actually is Andrea?
Yeah, he's. Yes. I'm going to guess he's old enough to not be too old, but not young enough that he's anybody's first choice.
Yeah, he's been out of action for quite a few years now, so I don't know if he would even be your second choice, to be honest.
I mean, people move on, don't they? Once you're okay, according to Wikipedia, he's 1989. That'll be
24.
Is that right?
1999. Nah, it can't be right. Yeah, 33. It sounds more about right.
You should stay in school, you.
You said 1999. Sorry.
33, apparently, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, that sounds probably about right. I mean, he's younger than what I thought, to be honest.
Is that Well, he has changed his looks quite a lot.
Yeah, he likes in the fashion and that type of industry. Anyway, I believe he has his own perfume, so he's still being able to get money from. But who knows? I mean, there could be a seat at the factory Aprilia racing.
Are we
team.
really taking it seriously? I don't think so.
I personally am not really taking it too seriously, but it seems that his ties with Aprilia anyway are still somewhat close, or maybe he just still rides their track bikes for for us to think that. But we're going to have to wait and see. It's going to be a long shot anyway.
I'll send him an email, get him on the show, find out what's going on. Oi, Andrea, what are you doing? What are you playing at? And we'll ask him directly.
Yeah.
Can't say further than that.
It was on the news just talking about riders and contracts and Iannone as well, but I'm actually seeing a post now, or an article saying that he vows for 2024 race and return at the moment, but in 2024...
It's not exactly his decision, though.
No.
It's like me saying I vow to be a millionaire this time next year.
I think he's just trying to be as hopeful as possible. I mean, I believe if he didn't, at the time, appeal his decision in court, he would be allowed to race already.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it did get extended after he tried to appeal it. But yeah, the whole Iannone situation is very, very interesting. I think he might just be missing racing a tad anyway.
Well,
it's keeping him in the media spotlight.
Yeah, maybe that's what he really wants, to be honest. But yeah, you mentioned it as well regarding court cases and stuff. Marc Marquez, there's been a decision on his penalty today at the High Court of Sport or whatever it was.
Yeah, Marc Marquez's penalty saga is finally over, because it's been quite a while. There's been quite a few arguments on social media, and it's just good for it to be sorted with now, I would say. But the FIM have announced that the penalty has been annulled in big fancy terms, but it's been thrown away by the FIM Court of Appeals. So yeah, it's over. He won't have to serve his double long lap penalty, and that's mainly just due to the wording. They couldn't find a suitable reason that the wording was changed after it was put to the Argentinian Grand Prix. So, and I also believe there was some sort of time frame that had to be done by, a decision had to be made, and that time frame's now over. So the penalty's been thrown out the window, and he won't have to serve a single thing when he makes his return, hopefully this weekend.
He's been through enough, don't you think? Really? I mean, being out for so many rounds with his arm falling off and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's had quite a few tough couple of seasons anyway. I mean, the mistake, it was quite a big mistake at Portugal, but these things do happen in racing, and he did deserve a penalty, but at the time, but it's
yeah, I mean, let it go, guys.
Yeah,
come on.
You can't. Yeah. The way it was changed, the way it was handled after all of that, and they realised their mistake and tried to change the word, and it's meant that the whole thing has become quite a farce. To be honest, there's been a lot of people arguing on social media about the penalty, whether it should be a thing, whether he should still serve it. Morally, you can argue that he's been for a lot as well, or just the fact that a penalty is a penalty at the end of the day. But also, at the end of the day, the FIM didn't really word that too well. So hopefully, I mean, it'll teach them for the future anyway, not to word penalties so specific to one Grand Prix. So hopefully, anyway, it'll change some things. Some good will come out of it.
I think you're presuming a lot there, Lewis.
Yeah, well, hopeful thinking, let's put it.
Okay, fair enough. So that's that. Any news as to when he's actually coming back racing? Is he just still hopeful to, you know?
Is this for Marquez?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen nothing just yet on whether he'll try to ride or not. I assume he'll have a medical problem Wednesday or Thursday, most likely Thursday, by the medics at circuit, but we won't properly know until around then. So I don't know. I hope he comes back. He seemed quite hopeful. It seemed that more in Jerez, it was more his decision not to race, and he was just trying to preserve his body as he didn't feel like he was ready at that time. But maybe at Le Mans, it might suit him a bit more, and we have seen him go well at Le Mans. But of course, that's if I've not missed anything in the media, but I'm pretty sure he's not announced anything just yet.
No, well, news has a tendency to break while we're live on the show on this Tuesday, as we're talking right now. So I am literally, I'm on my phone scouring all the feeds and stuff just to see if anything happens. It was on this show when news broke last week about Johnny Garness. Some good news regarding him. If you don't know what that relates to, Johnny Garness, British Talent Cup champion, current champion from last year. It was involved in a terrible incident in, I think, a practice in Portugal a couple of weeks ago, testing. And basically led to a fractured skull and bleed on the brain and lots of very worrying times. But a week or so later, last week, it was announced that, that he was starting his road to recovery. He was awake, not completely out of the woods. And then earlier this week, yesterday, I think, was it today or yesterday? Yesterday, I think it was.
Yesterday, I think.
Yeah, his dad tweeted further good news of him being discharged from the hospital in Portugal and making their way home back to a British hospital for further testing and evaluation and continuing his road to recovery. So, good news, folks. That's good news for Johnny Garness. Please don't rush back. And I say that it goes against all the racers' natural instincts, doesn't it, Lewis? You just, if you feel fit enough, then, look at Marquez. Don't be a Marquez. Just sit tight, get well soon, rest, be patient, all the things that bike racers generally don't like doing. But I would encourage you to give it a go. Anyway, so good news regarding Johnny Garness, if you've not heard. Which was probably the best news I've heard in many, many months, to be perfectly honest with you. Regarding his competitor this season in the British Talent Cup, in the RNG British Talent Cup, and he was fighting with him at Silverstone, and I would say arch rival throughout his title campaign, Garness. He was being challenged by Reece Stevenson. Well, Reece announced, or rather the team announced yesterday, that Reece Stevenson had amicably, mutually decided to part ways with the team, and they wished him well for the rest of the season. A really sideways, random announcement. No further information was forthcoming from either him or the team, but reading between the lines, as we probably have to do, because there's been no further information, Reece is currently competing in the Red Bull Rookies Cup, and he might want to just focus a little bit more on that. I'm guessing. I don't know. I might just message him and ask him. It might be easier, won't it? Instead of making things up. But, another surprise announcement from the... So, I could be wrong. Maybe he's just switching teams. I don't know. Who knows? But hopefully...
We'll find out pretty soon, I would think, anyway.
Yeah, 2 weeks to the next round at Donington, and we'll see if he's there, really. It will be really weird without Reece and Johnny on the grid. Yeah. It's just weird because they were like the two fighting for the wins all the time. But that's the latest regarding the BSB paddock. Anything else? But it's been quite quiet now because everyone's doing the Northwest, aren't they? So, talking about the Northwest 200, as we're talking on the Tuesday, I don't know when you're listening to this, but we're talking on the Tuesday evening, and there's been just practice happening so far, I think. And I've not been able to watch much of it today. I've seen bits and highlight and clips and stuff, mostly people just, But there was a thing with Peter Hickman. What's going on with him and his tyres, Lewis?
Yeah, so Peter Hickman, this year in general at the Northwest 200 and at the Isleman TT, Dunlop is no longer the official tyre supplier for the series. After last year, there was multiple rear tyres delaminating and basically exploding while the riders were travelling at 200 miles an hour down public roads. So they've now no longer have that title sponsorship for the races. So now that's handed over to Metzler. And Dunlop now as well, by the sounds of it, have no longer got their full support in the paddock and have the big lorries with them, with the awnings to change out tyres but allow people to buy some new tyres. So Peter Hickman's went there this weekend as a Dunlop ambassador, still using the Dunlop tyres on all his Super Twin, Super Sport and Superbike, Super Stock machines. He's got Dunlops on all of them, and he's arrived to the circuit and he doesn't have any wets that he can use anyway. We don't actually know the full story at the moment, because he did say on social media there's a lot more to it than not simply bringing the wet tyres to the races. But I also do know that at the moment, with the Dunlop tyre situation, it seems that at least at Elman TT this year, maybe the same at Northwest 200, you can only use an exact specific model of tyre. So potentially he's got the wrong model of wet, I don't know. But he's out on his social media asking for anyone that can bring over some wet tyres for him. So interesting times anyway from the highly successful road racer that is Peter Hickman.
For once, I'm not going to comment because I literally know nothing about tyres. They're round and they're black, rubber occasional rubber. And that's all I know. So if there's anything more complicated than that, like stuff going on behind the scenes, politics or whatever, my instinct is to slowly back away from making any comment, because it's quite likely that I'll probably say the wrong thing and upset someone. But as far as we know it, that's what's been said by Peter, according to Lewis.
Yeah, he's put it on social media in the comments because he's got quite a lot of stick on Facebook, as people do on social media, saying basically just laughing at the fact that he's went to Ireland without any wet tyres and that he's a top racer and top team without any tyres. But he replied to some of them comments explaining that there's slightly more to the situation than meets the eye. So we don't really know what exactly the cause is at the moment, but I think he's just going to be hoping it doesn't rain. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So good luck with that. And yeah, I will endeavour to. I'll try to find out some more broadcast details. To be honest, I think if you're already going to be watching the Northwest, you already know when it's on and where. So
yeah, it's on the BBC Sports app and website and the BBC iPlayer app and website for everyone to watch.
Yeah. What, the BBC that never show any motorsport ever at all? That BBC? I'm just taking the piss out of people who whinge and moan about no motorsport ever on the BBC. It's not true. But anyway, yeah, so Northwest 200, and it's still pretty early days at the moment. Is there, for you, Lewis, are you going to be watching most of it? I suspect you might, because you're that sort of person anyway. Whatever you're instigated there. I'm just saying, you like to keep of all the goings on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I'll be keeping as much of an eye as possible. Obviously, we're away at Fab at the weekend, so I'll have to rewatch the Saturday races. But Thursday all day, basically, there'll be coverage. Thursday, the final practice sessions / qualifyings before the races get underway, and then I believe racing starts around 5 p.m. at night. And on the schedule, I know it says it goes all the way till around 8:30ish. So,
okay, well, yes. Hopefully, all goes well for everybody. Fingers crossed for everyone. Nobody gets injured. And everyone just puts on a great show, a classic Northwest finals for us. That's what we want to see. So, yeah,
exactly. And sorry, I interrupted you there, but if we literally look at a month ago as well, we didn't think the event was even going to go ahead. So, I mean, I think we're quite lucky to be seeing any sort of practice and racing this week at the Northwest.
Yeah, there has already this past week been at least one event in Ireland, and was it scary? I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, there's already
I did see it, but
yeah. there's already been one event. I'm trying to keep it as generic as possible to hide the fact that I forgot any of the details. But yeah, there's already been one event cancelled or postponed for various.
Kel's road races has been cancelled for this year.
Yeah. Did they say exactly why, or is it costs?
It was mainly costs, but it's due to the lack of insurance cover that they've cancelled it for. So it seems right now all talks are still on insurance policies. Obviously, Kel's road racing is in Southern Ireland, so different governing body to what the Northwest is at right now. So they said that there's no concrete information coming from the MCI, and news that their directors meeting has been postponed for 2 weeks. So basically, there's no news at the moment, and they think it's going to be coming a bit too late for them to put anything in place. So, insurance talk once again.
Don't get me started on insurance. Jesus. Yeah, that's a whole different. And that's not even talking about racing. That's just my personal insurance. Trying to insure a van nowadays. Christ. It's let's just say it's a headache. And well, you've just recently passed your test, haven't you, Lewis? How much is insurance for you? You're 17.
I'll
Is it more or less than £5,000?
Less, because I have a black box, so it takes it down ever so slightly.
Okay,
but that's a whole different story in itself with a black box. So,
yeah, fair enough. Okay, I was just checking up on some, maybe not breaking news as such, but there's been an announcement just before we went on air by No Limits Track Days, which was the original from No Limits Racing, the racing version of No Limits. So No Limits Track Days posted on their Facebook just over an hour ago, before we just came to air. It reads, we've made no secrets that the demand for track days has decreased significantly since early last year. This resulted in a scaling back for 2023, while hoping it would be enough to correct the imbalance. However, that action had no impact in slowing this decrease. Don't misunderstand this posting, it says. We've no intention on throwing the towel in, but we've got to explore options to realistically stay viable, as currently it's far from it, says the account on Facebook. It goes on to say, so I'm going to post a poll next. That way we can see the personal reasons that you may have put off booking, so allowing us to look at all the viable solutions to continue to host bike track days for everyone to enjoy. We would be extremely grateful if you could take a moment and post your vote in the poll. Thank you for your support, and it gives a link to the poll. I think we'll probably just share that on Motorsport Radio and in the BSB and Fans Support Facebook category. It all goes towards that wider cost of living crisis, really. High insurance, people have less money, high gas and electric, just everything. It's all a bit, so, the little luxuries in life, like going on your track days, or maybe you'd plan to go to X number of races in maybe BSB, or you'd plan to go to MotoGP or even the TT. Have you, if you're listening to this, decided to scale back some of your plans? Can you no longer afford to do those track days? Let us know. Get in touch. It'll be really interesting to see this. I suppose it is a recession, isn't it, in motor racing, where people have to cut back on what they're doing because of costs, really. I mean, petrol and diesel prices have, well, they are what they are, I suppose, but with everything else being more expensive, even food. I mean, don't get me started on food. I said we wouldn't do this, and we're not going to do this. But, this isn't going to lead to a general whinge and moan, but it's just interesting to see how now, and And it would be interesting to see if some of the big championships and some of the big events this year, when they publish their attendance figures, if they're up or down versus last year. I mean, previously, a COVID year last year, so it's not really representative, but be interesting to just see either way. So are you one of those people who are doing fewer track days because of the cost of living crisis? Are you going to less events, less races, fewer races? Are you a racer yourself and cutting back on actually racing? Let us know. Get in touch. It's an interesting one to keep an eye on, especially. Oh, someone's been in touch. There you go. A text has flooded in. So, yeah, let us know. Get in touch. And that's on the No Limits track days. Get involved in their poll if you're one of their customers as well. So, yeah, that with the insurance and the general cost of living and just having a general whinge and moan. We always like to do that here on the Superbike Show.
Yeah, of course.
And, yeah, I mean, talking about people who were racing, there seemed to be a lot of a few good full grids at the weekend at Donington, where you were for No Limits Racing, Lewis. Absolutely no problem with grid attendances there.
Yeah, it seems that the COVID and the the increase in prices and everything at the moment, it's not stopped it's not stopped majority of people from racing, because it was full grids in almost every single race that I was lucky enough to commentate on. 45 teams entered the eBay ACU Endurance Championship race, the 5-hour long race. 45 teams with 2 to 4 riders in each team, so plenty of riders in that one.
Who had the best team name?
Right, there's a story here, and so it was on the Saturday night after the after the race had finished, with all these team names, shall we say, the interesting team names. We see it in Fab Racing, for example, in the motor team class, that there's some interesting names anyway, but at Fab they tried to keep them PG.
Yeah.
But the race winners in the end were the TRT 27 team, but they were found to have a tyre infringement, so they were disqualified in the end. But the team who did win was Mike, and then I'll just pause for a little bit, but Oxlong Racing. And whenever you say that at some speed, it sounds, it sounds like you're saying something. I might explain that one off air with Lester. But
okay. Is it a dirty word?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you commentated
it's
with
a
it?
phrase. Yeah, I didn't realise till after we went off air. I was watching one of the No Limits. Yeah, and they got us quite good, because I didn't realise I was in my hotel room at the night looking at the Facebook Live and with them laughing at some of the team names.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So you've been saying throughout that entire 5-hour endurance race, you were saying,
exactly.
Mike Oxlong.
Maybe.
Fair
for
enough.
everyone to hear, but I was not talking at all. But I realised what they'd done to us all day, and even right now, I'm going quite red over it, because I honestly would think anyone would do that.
Sweet innocent Lewis. Oh, there you go.
It was a first.
Yeah, you're right there, Murray. It was.
A team
But, it was interesting. I listened to most of the 5-hour endurance race. I was up at Teesside doing something other than... No, I was doing racing, actually. Well, I wasn't racing myself, but I was live streaming something. Speedway, of all things. So, yeah, I was listening to it. And yeah, interesting commentary. But it was good. I thought it was interesting anyway. Even, despite the content as well. So, yeah. So, we'll talk a bit more about No Limits Racing as well shortly. Getting back to some of the international racing, though. We talked about MotoGP. Is there any other big news stories coming out of MotoGP? I've not seen it other than the Marquez thing.
The biggest probably the biggest story that I've seen lately has been Aleix Espargaro saying to the media that he doesn't think he's going to continue after 2024, and he's looking at more of a test rider role within MotoGP. Basically, his explanation for that thinking at the moment anyway is that with the way MotoGP is structured at the moment, it's fast, it's furious, and it's practically you have to treat every single session like a time attack, while Aleix likes to try the new parts and be intricate with the new parts on the bike and test new things and try new setups, and he's not getting any time to do any of that stuff now, so he's missing that, it seems. And obviously it's a lot of races to do, a lot more weekends to do. So he's looking at more of a test rider role after this contract period.
There was a story published a few days ago, over the weekend, I think, on the MotoGP website. It might have been a video interview. I think it was a video. Basically, Jorge Lorenzo has been saying stuff about Marc Marquez, and he's saying effectively that his love, or Marc's love for Honda, isn't the same anymore. Something's changed, according to Lorenzo. Now, could that just be Lorenzo causing mischief? Or I don't know. It was just a bit of an interesting line from his point of view, Lorenzo, and he's someone who's probably been through that same process where it's just all, where everything's just wound down for him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Lorenzo.
So
he's in the media quite a lot recently, anyway. And I also seen on the MotoGP website a couple of days ago from Lorenzo that he is claiming that he was a Yamaha test rider for, I think, only 1 year before Cal Crutchlow then got the job properly. So he said to MotoGP.com in an interview that he could have helped Yamaha with their situation at the moment. So he's been saying quite a few things in the media. He also said that Yamaha didn't want him as a test rider, which was a mistake. So he's been stirring up some stories anyway.
Interesting. What's he selling at the moment? Has he got like a perfume out or something? Has he got a TV show?
I honestly don't know. Last time I seen him, he was on the it was that Masked Singer show that he was dancing about. So yeah, he's
singing and dancing about. Look at him there.
Yeah, I think he's also got a TV pundit job as well.
Oh yeah, he works for DAZN as well in Spain, I guess. So he might have said it. I don't know what context he said it in, but it might have been through his jibber jabber on the TV that he said that. I don't know. I just found it an interesting comment. Anyway, something, and we've talked enough about it anyway, and it still remains a big whole load of steaming pile of speculation at the moment until there's another announcement about an announcement, which turns out to not be an announcement, forthcoming, in which case they will announce it in due course.
Yeah,
exactly.
Pretty much.
So, back to World Superbikes, if we can. As I said, we're just doing a kind of a short show, really, because we kind of like in like a no man's land of no MotoGP, no BSB sort of thing. World Superbikes then. So we've got a slightly less motivated Bautista, who's already got in his mind thoughts of retirement, but still dominating the championship anyway. It's not bad for a guy who's considering retirement.
Yeah.
And the only race he hasn't won all season was the Indonesian sprint race where Top Cat won it. And
so he's been very dominant.
Exactly. Just having a look at Jonathan Ray's attempts and efforts. He did get a podium at the weekend, actually. He was third in race 1. So that's something.
Yeah. There was, with the likes of Ray and Bautista, next season, I believe it's been introduced that there's going to be a change in the regulations for the manufacturers, and that Kawasaki are going to be given an extra 250 RPM, while Ducati are going to have 250 RPM taken away from them. So it should mean the straight line deficit should be shortened ever so slightly anyway. But Bautista at the weekend, he won by 8.5 seconds. So I don't think that's really going to be caused just by straight line speed anyway.
Greedy sod. Yeah, well, I don't know. Where did you say they are next in World Superbikes? What's just bringing up the calendar here.
Yeah, so next up in World Superbikes, they'll be continuing in Europe, and it'll be at Misano. It'll be at
Emilia Romagna round.
Yeah, Misano, yeah. And then they'll have the test after that, which Tyron McKenzie will be riding in. So big times coming up ahead anyway for World Superbikes. Misano's a good circuit, but also I think Bautista will want to win that one because it is technically the Italian round.
Yeah, there's one of 2 Italian rounds.
Yeah.
It's weird that the Emilia Romagna named race in Formula 1, that's Imola, but the actual Imola circuit round is named something else. It just confuses a lot of me. I've always had a problem with the way that World Superbikes names its rounds. For example, the UK round.
It doesn't sound that cool.
Yeah, the UK round. Donington. Oh, Donington, yeah. Oh, it's the UK round. I don't know what that is. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, that's round 6 in the Championship World Superbikes. Are you going? Do you want to go? Can you afford to go? And if you can't go, how outraged are you? Let us know. Get in touch and have your say. Hashtag Motorsport Radio. Let us know. And yeah. We want to know. Yeah. We're nosy.
Yeah.
Basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But Brad Ray, you mentioned it earlier, and just talking about a bit more about the Brits, Lewis. How are we getting on there? Is Scott Redding, is he still?
Scott Redding, he is roaming about the paddock, and on the track, he's not where he wants to be at the moment anyway. He DNF'd from race 1, 12th from race 2, so that's still 0 points for him as well on the board. So it's not a weekend that he's wanted anyway. It seems that at the moment he's getting quite frustrated with BMW. There's been quite a lot of talks coming out of BMW as well about one of the top riders having conversations over contracts with them at the moment. So interesting times anyway for BMW, and Scott Redding, it doesn't seem like he's enjoying his time. But on the other Brits front, obviously Tom Sykes is moving to that is helping out with that BMW team, I should say, while he replaces Michael van der Mark. And Bradley Ray having a 12th place finish is pretty good, to be honest, for his second proper round of the championship this year.
Yeah, he's done tests and stuff. I don't know how many. I don't know how much pre-season test or testing he's done, but I think he's done some. Is this a write-off for Brad Ray? Is this just basically a testing year for him, a learning year? Yeah,
I mean, Bradley Ray, it seems like the best. If I was him anyway, as a rider, I would be wanting to perform as good as I could this year at circuits like he knows, especially Donington this year, and try just to get some impressive finishes in the hopes for next season to be able to get a full-time ride in the championship for the whole year. So by the time he starts his season, he isn't 2 rounds behind on track time. So yeah, I think mainly a learning year for Brad Ray, and who knows, we could even see another Brit joining them in the championship next year.
Yeah, hopefully Taron will step up maybe sooner rather than later. Who knows?
Yeah, injuries can happen. We've seen that this year with MotoGP and the World Superbikes. But Taran's weekend at Catalonia didn't really go to plan. Last place finish in race 1, out of everyone that finished anyway. But in race 2 as well, he was 23rd out of 27. So not always wanting there either. Still 0 points on the board and almost 40 seconds away from the race win in race 2, and over 40 seconds away from the race win in race 1. So Taran Mackenzie really struggling this weekend, considering that the team has had some testing done at the Catalonia circuit. So yeah, I already have data from that circuit, but I believe they're still on that standard Honda CBR 600 engine. So he hasn't really got the horsepower underneath him still, but he's definitely trying his best. The social media posts at the moment seem just to be all that we're trying our best at the moment, and hopefully that things will get better with time.
Yeah, that's. I really don't want to be too harsh on Mackenzie or Brad Ray, because they're in that they're in a less than ideal position.
Yeah,
that's very clear. So I won't be too harsh on them. I'll just, as we have done all season, really, we just offered words of support. We're here for you guys if you need us.
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know what we did. I don't know if you want an interview or something. Yeah. So but Scott Redding, though, for me, he's the one who, yes, should be on it. Should be probably better than what he's doing now. Is he underperforming? Is he overperforming versus the bike? Is that package of him and that bike underperforming? For you, Lewis, what's going on?
Yeah, I think probably from Scott Redding's position, he's slightly underperforming on that bike, I would say, considering Garrett Gerloff jumping on the bike this season for the first time on the Bonovo Action BMW has finished in front of him quite consistently on the on the satellite bike.
5 more points in the championship at the moment.
Yeah, and has more championship points as well, and he has less experience on the BMW. So it seems that Scott Redding right now is letting things also get to his head quite a lot. Even the first round last season on that BMW was hitting and punching the bike after one weekend. So Scott Redding, he's not enjoying his time out there, and he has doubts. He's having doubts over his future anyway with the German manufacturer, he said in the media. So he's not covering up anyway the issues that they're having, let's just say. But yeah, it seems that BMW, the bike isn't there in World Superbikes yet, which is so interesting, obviously, because considering we're seeing what it's doing in BSB.
Yeah, I suppose.
Obviously, electronics, etc., are different on the machines, and tracks are definitely different between the two series. But it's always just really interesting to see whenever a manufacturer brings out a bike that rarely that we see it consistently fight at the front in all the other championships. I mean, we've seen the Honda go better in BSB than what it's ever done in World Superbikes, the new Honda Fireblade that was brought out a couple of seasons ago as well. So, yeah, and the Kawasaki as well, it's been slightly better, I would say, in World Superbikes compared to BSB. So, yeah, there's always a slight difference between the series, but it seems that BMW are slightly out at sea in World Superbikes at the moment, considering they have the whole Motorrad BMW manufacturer behind them. So if you're Scott Redding, Lewis, and things are going as badly as they are, and you're getting increasingly frustrated, publicly smashing the bike to bits, that's not a good look. That's not where anybody wants to be. The team don't want you to do that. You don't want to be in that position. Where do you go? Yeah. What do you do? Yeah, that's the question on everyone's lips at the moment. I don't know. I mean, I think maybe there could be a seat at Ducati in 1 year's time. There could also be a seat at Yamaha at the end of this year, I want to say, as Raz Katioglu's contract runs out. So there could be some seats anyway coming in World Superbike. So Yeah, there's been some stories anyway about Top Rack Raz Catalogo, which we'll get onto pretty shortly, from his manager Keenan Safoglu, talking about the future of Top Rack. But yeah, I don't really know where Redden would want to go. He originally moved to BMW for what seemed to be for the salary and to help the team improve.
I thought it was like a long-term sort of, deal there.
Yeah, it seemed to be they had the hopes of working together for many years with a nice, decent wage and would develop the bike into a championship contender. But it seemed that Redden overestimated the performance of that motorcycle before he jumped onto it. Maybe it was slightly more work than what he was thinking.
Are you suggesting that there's usual pre-season hyping of how well a BMW might go in the season, and then it just turns out to be disappointing? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
Surely not.
We also did see, though, to be fair to Scott, that BMW, before they completely switched up the motorcycle, it did have some pretty decent results, especially in the wet conditions, like the first ever inaugural round of the Indonesian round at the Mandalika circuit. It went really well there. It was battling for race wins, and everyone's thinking, hold on a minute, the BMW might not be a bad bike to step on, but ever since then, it's not really went well, let's just say. But yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. I'm trying to find out how long exactly that contract's going to be at the moment for Scott Redden, when exactly it finishes. But yeah, they were aiming for it anyway to work for a long term, whether that just be 1 or 2 year contract, and then for them to extend it over time as the positions, as the bike improves. But Ducati, he was always going to be, it seemed, a number 2 there, especially with Bautista at Ducati. It seemed that he was going to be a number 2 rider, and I don't think he enjoyed that side of it.
Maybe you might regret thinking like that, if he did think like that at all. I don't know. But
yeah, well, I mean, we've seen how well the Ducati riders have went all season. All Ducati riders have went really, really well straight away in World Superbikes.
Yeah, so I don't know, watch this space. I suppose it's a developing situation. People jockeying for a good seat for next year, wondering what's going to happen. And I get the feeling a lot of these things link back into what might be available in MotoGP, seeing who there could be at the end of this season. A handful of World Superbike riders are no longer there, partly because they've retired or been fired. But people like Top Rack, who's been teased with a MotoGP ride for a couple of years now, I think, it's looking increasingly more likely that he might switch over. Bautista may or may not decide to hang around for another year. Depends on how he feels, on family and stuff. He said he will, but when it's already in your mind, when you've already publicly started admitting it, you've kind of got one foot out the door already. So he might change his mind. You never know. But you mentioned about Top Rack's manager. He's been mouthing off a bit, or speaking publicly.
Yeah, speaking publicly. I think is the way to put it. But Keenan Safoglu, who, of course, a very successful rider in his own right, especially in the World Supersport category, has confirmed that Yamaha gave Top Rack a contract for next season in World Superbikes, and frankly, they have turned it down.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So they've said publicly that they've turned it down to the media, and that it wasn't what they expected anyway at the time being. So I don't really know what that means. They've also said that other manufacturers, and they did name BMW, are speaking to them at the moment about a potential move. And Top Rack has also, I read in the media, said that whenever he moved to Yamaha just a couple of seasons ago, 3 or 4 years ago, it wasn't really the bike to be on in World Superbikes. That's when Alex Lowes and such was just left the Pata Yamaha team after having a tough couple of years with the R1 in World Superbikes. Everyone thought it wasn't the best career move, leaving Kawasaki, what looked to be a factory Kawasaki ride, eventually coming his way to go to Yamaha. But it's worked out in the end. So that's the way he's looking at it at the moment anyway. But it would be quite a shocking move, I think. But
yeah, the only way he would go to BMW is if they know there's absolutely no chance of them going into MotoGP.
Yeah, I think right now it's more of a bargaining tactic to try and get something a bit more from Yamaha. Maybe if you do this well next season, we'll move you up to MotoGP in 2024. Or
but he's had that for a couple of years now, hasn't he? He's had that carrot dangling.
There's always been talks, yeah, but there also has been his manager, Keaton Safoglu, not always being he's not always had the best of light of wanting his rider to enter the GP paddock. He's always had the mindset of keeping them in World Superbikes and keeping them away from the GP paddock. With I don't really understand why personally, but
well, I mean, your lifetime as a top level rider is probably going to be short in GP if you're not performing. You know, it's not everybody's automatic right to stay in GP, whereas you're probably more likely to stay in World Superbikes a bit longer, earn a lot more money, and coast by. But I'm not suggesting that that he's that sort of person. There are people who have stuck around World Superbikes and coasted by for one too many years, but definitely not top rack. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
So let's wait and see. Another one of those let's wait and see sort of things. And it's that kind of time in the year where really people are talking and there's lots of options. You know, a lot of that gets talked about quite a lot. We've got options here. We might try desperately to see what the hell we can get. There's lots of options on the table here. But ultimately it's... don't go BMW.
They also stated at the moment that they were hoping. Well, they have tried to talk to Honda, but they've had no offer from Honda. So potentially, they might be hoping that Top Rack could even get space in MotoGP with Honda. I mean, the bike's not doing too well. I don't think they would mind having a rider like Top Rack in his team, although he would be still a gamble, I think it's fair to say, with him never properly racing a MotoGP bike in anger. But yeah, it's interesting times ahead. It seems at the moment he still wants to be in MotoGP. It seems that his eyes are on MotoGP more than World Superbikes at the moment, especially with this dominance from Bautista that he seems that he can't stop at the moment. No one can catch up to Bautista. So yeah, why stick about just getting podiums and fighting for podiums every single weekend where you could potentially be trying to get yourself into the premier class of motorcycle racing?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's probably ready.
You might not do well in there. There's not always like the guarantee, but why not try?
I think more people would take a underperforming MotoGP ride over a decent World Superbike ride any day. As a rider, in your peak, I think you probably would. But that's me speaking, not as a rider, and definitely not in my peak physical condition. So, in that way, I actually don't know what I'm talking about, which surprises no one. Anyway, a couple of people been in touch. Hello to Stefan North, who was at Donington at the weekend, Lewis, and he was listening to your commentary at No Limits Racing. He says, great job in the commentary. Thumbs up. And he also mentioned that the Ulster GP cancelled as well. Yeah. So the Ulster GP was cancelled a couple weeks ago, I believe. Just going back to the point where we were speaking about the likes of Kells and such being cancelled. But yeah, the Ulster was cancelled this season, and I think it was, well, once again, it's money related, but it seemed, if I remember right, that the council couldn't guarantee the amount of funding or couldn't confirm the amount of funding that they were going to give the Ulster Grand Prix. So it was too risky for them to run it this year. So they pulled the plug on it for once again another season, which it was such a shame because it seemed that we're finally going to be able to get the Ulster Grand Prix this year for the first time since 2019. But yeah, I mean, it's not going to... It seemed like there was just a glimmer of hope. It wasn't like the likes of the Northwest. If that got cancelled, it would be much bigger in my books, just with the fact that
it never gets cancelled, apart from obviously the COVID years. Well, the All-Star's been cancelled for a couple of years now. It seems that we just need some hope that eventually one day we'll be able to get back on track and then back racing around the incredible circuit.
It'll, I'm sure, get back on its feet soon, eventually. And that links into what we were also talking about. We've drifted about with all our subjects this evening. But regarding the post that No Limits Track Days posted earlier this evening, suggesting that attendances for track days across the board really have been decreasing since the start of last year. A couple of people have been in touch as well to suggest, well, maybe MSV have an opportunity to help, let's say. On that front, I don't know. I don't see, I mean, the obvious thing is, are they going to lower the prices? Well, if they do, and they could, I think, maybe, I don't know. But if they do, that doesn't necessarily mean that the riders can afford to pay whatever the lowered price is. Because, we've all got to work, and as we've already said, the cost pressures are coming not necessarily from the racetracks, but everywhere else. Food, lights, electric, gas, rent, mortgage, tax, all sorts of things. So everything else has gone up. It doesn't necessarily mean that if, your track day might be a few quid cheaper, that you can still necessarily afford that. So, I don't see it's all MSV's responsibility, and they've only probably raised their prices, if they have, reacting to their cost pressures, which is the same costs that we've all got to face, which is the biggest one, electricity, which still hasn't gone down. Bastards. Anyway, Jim Rogerson's been on. He says he always looks forward to a Tuesday night to listen to us two on the radio. Really? I mean, yeah, sure. Thank you, Jim.
Cheers, Jim.
Yeah, why not? And he said, well done, Lewis. Donington, No Limits at the weekend. Yeah, so...
Thanks.
And also Rod's been on as well. Hello, good evening, Rod, again.
Is it Scottish this week?
Rod Walker. Yeah, he says, good evening from sunny Dumfries.
It was sunny today, actually.
Okay, I'll let him off then. He also agrees that you're doing a brilliant job commentating, and big hello from Rod and your mum and dad and on all your family and stuff. So hello again, Rod, and anyone who's in Scotland at the moment. A big Scottish contingency tune into the show.
Yeah.
Back in action this weekend, commentating for Fab Racing. The Road to MotoGP series is back, and Motorsport Radio will have, once again, live coverage here. And we'll be putting that coverage on the TV eventually, and on YouTube as well. Basically, Fab, if you've been following it or not, it is the official feeder series to the... Road to MotoGP is the official feeder series to MotoGP, really. And also the sort of unofficial feeder series to the R&G British Talent Cup, as well as, basically most of the championship there is basically a Fab race from the previous years. So, so if you want to find out who are the future Casey O'Gorman, Johnny Garness, Kyle Ride, Brad Ray, Scott Redding, Rory Skinner, Scott Ogden, Josh Watleys, and anyone else I've forgotten to name. If you want to know and see who the next crop of those people are, tune in this weekend live from Red Lodge on Saturday afternoon and Sunday all day to hear Lewis Ray. And your co-commentator, who's the new Adam Reed. He's not watching this, so I'll get away with not remembering his name. To be fair, he is new, so so we'll see how well Adam does this weekend. Are you looking forward to it, Lewis?
Of course. Always look forward to a commentary weekend at Red Lodge as well for the second round. It's been quite a while since the first round. So yeah, it'll be nice to be back. We haven't been at the circuit since...
I've only just recovered.
When was it? Yeah, for the double round. Yeah, a couple of bank holidays ago. So yeah, it's going to be good to be back in the commentary box again. And hopefully, I've not looked at the weather just yet, but hopefully it's going to be nice, sunny weather. As long as you bring the AC unit. No. Not nice weather.
It might rain on one or both days, but yeah, hey ho. We'll be in our nice production vehicle. What are you laughing at?
Nothing at all, Lester.
And yeah, it's always nice going to Red Lodge. So yeah, it's not bad. But yeah, live coverage this weekend. Also, if you're a fan of IndyCar, we've got live coverage of IndyCar Radio, of the latest round, the Indianapolis Road Course race as well, which is going to be happening in the next, next weekend as well. So that's all soon. No, that's BSB next weekend. Yes, we've got live BSB coverage as well on Motorsport Radio. So yeah, we've got a busy old schedule. Plus, you know, we had No Limits at the weekend, and Fab, and BSB, and IndyCar radio coverage as well. I don't think that we've ever had so much live motorsport here on Motorsport Radio. But, you know, that's what you get.
A bit of everything.
Bit of everything, that's, you know, and why not? So, final comment comes in from Petra regarding track days that we mentioned. It seems it's all kicking off as well in the comments box, especially on the No Limits Track Days Facebook page as well. Petra says, track days, I'd imagine COVID and, well, less free cash for everyone, which we kind of suggested as well. Also, there is a recession going on, I think. Well, there is in my house anyway. There's a recession going on. Energy prices, etc., is causing people to cut the luxuries. Perhaps clubs and organisers can help out, and where costs can be spread across groups, potentially through club racing, could enormously help both organisers and participants to help out. Maybe even combine your track days with circuit hire for your racing weekend, so you get like a track day on the Thursday or something. And I think do they already do that sort of thing? I don't even know.
Yeah, they have testing for some rounds on the Friday for some of the race meetings. This weekend though, I believe there was no official test on the Friday, so that was just a track day on the Friday that you would have to book into, which is slightly confusing. But yes, so you could still get some testing done just unofficially away from the circuit. So they could certainly have a track day group within their Friday testing program.
Yeah, or maybe even team up with. I mean, I'm not getting into any politics about that sort of thing, but yeah, I'm just kicking ideas around for possible solutions if they are solutions. But according to No Limits Track Days, a solution needs to be found, and fingers crossed that we don't see decreasing numbers at track days, and certainly on race days as well. So definitely, I think No Limits Racing should be. I know they've got good grid sizes already, but maybe to entice the fans in from a wider perspective and live stream it. Basically, is what I'm saying. That would be good to see anyway. I mean, wouldn't you like to see one of this country's best championships outside of BSB live streamed? I mean, if Fab Racing can have live streaming all weekend, there's a lot of talent in No Limits Racing as well. There's a lot of BSB, a lot of people from BSB as well in some of the races. And you did actually see some great racing as well at the weekend, Lewis. Not just the endurance racing, but across the weekend.
Yeah, plenty of great racing, plenty of Scottish riders as well. Slight bit of bias that made the way down to Donington Park. And yeah, it was great to see. It was great to see packed grid sizes. That was my main takeaway from the weekend. And also the way that they've laid out some of the classes which have had slightly less entry fees, like for example, they put some of the older, slower pre-injection, so the 600s from the likes of the 90s that are still carbureted, with the likes of newcomers on the new Supersport machines, and it actually creates quite close and equal racing throughout the weekend, since it's a slightly more experienced rider on a slower machine and a less experienced rider on a faster machine. So yeah, it produced some great racing, and plenty of grid sizes in all the races, plenty of races as well that went down to the last lap, last corner. I think it was in the Pirelli Super Series 1000 class in the final race of the day, where Ash Beach, Luke Hedger, and Max Lofthouse or Cam Grieger, it was one of the two. The lead went down to the last lap, last corner, and it was 3 wide into the final chicane at Roberts, because obviously we're using the national layout at the weekend. And yeah, it was a drag race to the line. So yeah, it was a great weekend. The sun was out on the Sunday anyway, so luckily we had some air conditioning in the commentary box, because life is just so difficult.
Well, yeah, I mean, stood on your feet, and you were stood, weren't you, commentating?
Yeah, I was stood throughout the whole 5-hour endurance race as well.
Well, you should. You're only 17. You don't need to sit there.
Exactly. Yeah. And we had our lunch slightly taken away on the Saturday. Everyone in the paddock did the marshals as well, because there was a blow up in the morning sessions in the qualifying, which meant that there was a stoppage for just over an hour while they cleaned up that oil spillage. It was midway for a qualifying session. By the time we got underway, it was pouring it down with rain, and it was a 35-minute qualifying session where nothing happened after the first 5 minutes before the red flag, because the track conditions were horrible compared to what they were before. So yeah.
Can you imagine being that rider who caused that red flag, causing everybody at the track to not have any lunch?
Yeah. I mean,
you'd be like, oh yeah.
Throughout, when we officially started commentating at around 11 a.m. till 8 p.m, I had 2 or 3 pain au chocolat pastries throughout the whole day, midway through speaking. So, did
you drink water? Lots of water.
Of course, loads of water.
Okay.
2-litre water bottles were in store on the desk.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, I've got to check up on him. Yeah, just make sure. Anyway, back in action this weekend. Fab Racing is live here. Did I mention that already? It's live here on Motorsport Radio, and it should be good. Lots of racing, mini bikes, big kids on little bikes, some big kids on bigger bikes, and some big kids on sidecars as well. It's fun for all the family, and it's even free to attend if you anywhere near Red Lodge, so near like Milden Hall, or where's the Bury St Edmunds, I think is the nearest biggest town. So if you're in the area on the Saturday or Sunday, pop over, come and see for yourself what it's like. Fab Racing live here on Motorsport Radio. Lewis, thank you very much. We said we were only doing a short show, and it sort of has been anyway. I'll see you at the weekend. Not much else to add. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for downloading the show as well, because we'll check the stats. The stats are in. More people actually download the show afterwards. I'm guessing because, there's lots of goings on, and people like to watch football and all that sort of goings on.
Sports.
Watching EastEnders and stuff, or whatever the crap people watch nowadays.
Coronation Street. 8 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't manage to watch any of the Coronation Street at the weekend. I saw where he put his hat on, and then because I had a slight bout of illness. I won't go into the details, but I didn't manage to watch them.
Too many magnums.
There was an unexpected, So anyway, that's the end of the show. Stop waffling, Lester, as you always do. Right. Lewis, I'll see you in a few days at Red Lodge for Fab, and thank you, and good night.
Night.
This is Motorsport Radio.
1, 2, 3.
Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio.